Advancements in Legal Tech, a conversation with Josh Lee Kok Thong, part of the Global Trends and Conflict Resolution with Thomas G. Giulioni series. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and Podcast by InstantMediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube, the Instant Mediations app, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact-dependent. Hi everyone, Mac Pierre-Louis here, attorney, mediator, and arbitrator working throughout Florida and Texas.
And Natalia Łowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland.
And Thomas Giulioni from Toronto, Canada, speaking to you from Hanoi, Vietnam. And I'm honored to introduce our guest for tonight, Josh Lee from Singapore. Josh staffs the Singapore Academy of Law's Reform Committee on Legal Issues relating to robotics and artificial intelligence, is a research fellow and SMU University, and his work has been identified as Asia's top 30 persons to watch in the business of law. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. Thanks, Thomas, and thanks everyone for having me here today.
Thank you, Josh. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and include something that people might not know about you?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I would love to do that. Well, perhaps let me start off by saying that I am indeed from Singapore, but I'm actually calling in at this point in time from sunny California. So it's good to see everyone. I'm actually here in Berkeley right now, pursuing my Masters of Law. But just a quick introduction about myself. I see myself as someone who occupies two different spaces in the law of tech as well as in the tech of law. Before I was here, I was working in the Data Protection Commission in Singapore, working specifically on AI governance issues. And before that, I was in the Ministry of Law. The Tech of Law side, I do run the Asia Pacific Legal Innovation and Technology Association. So if you hear Thomas mentioning about Alita later on, that is what we are talking about. I'll go into more into that later, so don't worry about it. I also run and I co-founded a publication, a virtual publication on law and technology, which is called LawTech.Asia. So I think I like to think of myself as somebody who, on one hand, is trying to regulate the disruption that is brought about by technology, and on the other, I like to think of myself as someone who is spearheading the disruption, specifically in the legal industry. So it's great to be here. It's great to share with everyone. And that's it for me. Back to you, Thomas.
Yes, I just want to mention that Josh and we co-wrote some articles about AI and on LawTech.Asia, and we had a good time with that. And I had my own podcast about 3-4 years ago. I interviewed Josh at that time, and you'll also learn a little bit more about Josh, some other things later on that are quite interesting. So what I'd like to talk about today is to clarify and give an overview about the topics that we like to talk about. One of them is online dispute resolution. We can think of using the internet to perform alternative dispute resolution as ADR, but online dispute resolution is to provide a resolution, equitable resolution, that doesn't favor the one disputant. So basically, what we like to focus on today is the work that Josh is doing, but there's AI online dispute resolution systems, and then there's AI negotiation support systems. And they're two different distinct kinds of platforms, and we'll give a little bit of an overview about that, and not to go too heavy on the tech side. And we'll talk about some recent developments and some use cases in ODR and negotiation support systems that have recently come up in the last, 3 to 5 years anyways. So that's an overview of what we'll be discussing.
Thank you so much, Thomas. And so I'd like to pick it up with you, Josh. Let's talk a little bit about the work that you have done. And specifically, you've helped the legal innovation industry in the Asia Pacific make a mark with the setting up of the Asia Pacific Legal Innovation and Technology Association, also called ALITA. Can you tell us a little bit about ALITA and what is the role of ALITA in supporting legal technology? And before you take the helm, I will share the screen to show people who might be viewing this the website, um, and also, well, several websites because you mentioned LawTech.Asia and Alita earlier. So we'll show them. If you are listening to this podcast, you will be able to just go to the YouTube channel, Lawyers and Mediators International, and check out the video. All right, let me screen share right now. All right, Josh, please take it away. Tell us, what is Alita?
Thanks so much for that question, Mac. And I think, you can think of ALITA as, in a sense, the Asia Pacific equivalent of certain industry associations in the legal technology world that you've probably already heard about, right? The US has the International Legal Technology Association, and the EU has the European Legal Tech Association. And these two associations do give them a united voice and a rallying point and space, right, to coordinate and make sense of developments. There was a gap for Apec, at least up till about 2 years ago in 2019. So we launched in 2019, and since then, we've managed to rally up to 230 member organizations, comprising global and local law firms, legal tech companies, research institutions, public institutions, and civic society groups to help them draw insights and coordinate innovation ideas, right? And to help global law firms feature their legal innovation efforts in the region. So the way that we like to think of it about it is, yes, the International Legal Tech Association and the European Legal Tech Association, they do have the pedigree, they do have the history, but we like to think that we have the passion and we have the energy. So and that is really what is necessary to drive legal innovation in this part of the world, because it is just burgeoning and growing. So besides being a voice for the region, right, our goal is really simple. We want to be the glue. You can think of us as a one-stop shop from which you can gain information about legal technology activities and relevant context anywhere in the region. And we also want to be policy shapers. We want to use our knowledge and our industry guidance, like through the Solia report on the state of legal innovation in the Asia Pacific report, and the Legal Innovation Strategy Toolkit, to guide the formation of enabling regulations for legal tech in the region, to build that and encouraging and engaging and enabling, right, policy environment for legal technology companies in the region. So what we want to do is to embed ourselves into the region's legal industry and to provide more benefits for our members. So that's in a nutshell what Alita is about. Do visit our website, which has been great, well shown by Mac earlier, to see how else Alita can help you in your legal innovation journey. Thanks.
And that website is Alita, ALITA .legal. For the people who might not have seen this with their eyes, Alita .legal and Solia.alita.legal. Okay, thank you, Natalia.
Thank you so much for this introduction, Josh. And when we now know more about what Alita does and knowing how vast your experience is, can you please tell us more on what is the current legal tech landscape in Asia?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. Well, I would say that let's draw a comparison between what's happening in Asia and what's happening in the Western economies, right? Anecdotally and experientially, I think most people probably would understand instinctively that the Western countries like the US, Canada, and UK, they've led, right, in the use of technology to transform the legal industry. It used to be said that countries in the Asia Pacific were about a decade behind the US and UK in the use of legal tech in law. And so, if you wanted to find out what the future would hold for all of us. You just have to look to these jurisdictions. And the facts do seem to bear this out, right? There was the Codex Tech Index that was published by Stanford University, which counts 894 legal tech companies in the US alone. And if we include Europe, that adds another 413 companies. On the other hand, Asia, including Russia, has only about 201 companies, maybe slightly more since then. And so nevertheless, right, I don't think this means that APEC is still floundering in the backwater. In the 2010s, we've seen APEC grow as a considerable force in legal tech. And today, APEC, you could say, has the third largest legal tech industry globally, behind US and Europe. And here are a few statistics, right, that Alita has been able to glean from our Solia report 2020 that was produced in conjunction with Singapore Management University, as well as Clifford Chance, LawTech.Asia, Linklaters, and White and Case. So let me just share some quick facts with you. Between 2019 and 2020, these were some developments that happened in the Asia Pacific, right? Mainland China saw a 453% year-on-year increase in cases heard online. So that touches specifically on online dispute resolution, which I'm sure Thomas will be able to expertly cover later on, right? There was a new cloud mediation platform that was also set up in Hangzhou, while question answering robots were installed in the Beijing courts. In Malaysia, there's been a significant push towards online dispute resolution with new e-payment system for bail and e-appellate system, and laws amended to allow for e-hearings. Right. In Singapore, there were asynchronous dispute resolution processes that were launched, and two new research centers that were set up focused on AI and computational law, one of which I'm a research affiliate of. So I think what these numbers show is that APEC is not lacking in the triple helix of innovation, which is talent, technology, as well as traction. Right. I think this latest spurt, especially with regard to COVID-19, is going to have far-reaching consequences for the legal tech industry. So stepping back into the broader picture, right, and I'm going to finish off soon, we've seen that some cities in APEC, in the Asia Pacific region, have been recognized as legal tech hubs globally, right? The UK Law Society has recognized Kuala Lumpur, Hong Kong, and Singapore as emerging legal tech hubs. So I think, going forward, I think what the future will bring is that in 2021 and in the years ahead, one might say, look at the Asia Pacific for what the next decade will look like rather than just the Western economies. So I hope that balances out everything, and that's what I'm very happy to be able to share. So over back to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thomas, could you chime in a little bit about what you think the current legal tech landscape in Asia is?
Yeah. So the COVID situation has affected everything, and it's also affected the focus of legal tech, and especially in the AI field. So the focus now that I've noticed is that that a lot of the tech is with regards to e-commerce. And and there's a problem that's been overcome is focusing on the design of the system, of the platform. And there's a little bit of a problem. It's called a black box problem. The black box problem occurs when individuals don't understand how the results come out from using this AI or this dispute assistance mechanism. So now everything is now changing towards more user-friendly, so people can trust the technology and the AI. So the pandemic has increased the reliance on using online dispute resolution that requires more than just video conferencing. A lot of mediators got kind of forced into video conferencing and thinking this is the latest as far as what we can do with dispute resolution, but there's a lot more that has developed since that, and especially in the last year or so because of the pandemic.
Thank you for that. And I know, Josh, you too are very interested in AI work. So, what do you think the future of AI is, especially AI and data? Can you speak a little bit about that? And what are your concerns about the rise of AI and data?
Yeah, of course. Well, I think, stepping back away from the legal industry just for a moment and looking at things from a broad economy and society kind of perspective, I think AI that's powered by data, there really is no magic to it. It's pattern recognition systems, right? But this, in a sense, technology that has very humble roots at the very start, right, is able to transform our economies. It's able to improve our lives and bring us new discoveries and hope. And going forward, I do hope that humans will be able to learn to work with AI to produce results that are greater than what could be expected from humans or machines alone. But a lot of work must be done to get there, right? I think there are legitimate concerns about AI today. We think of autonomous human-looking robots, but that is more of the common portrayal in media. But I think the real questions that we should be looking at are things like the fairness of AI systems and their propensity for perpetrating human biases, right? We've seen AI used in criminal justice, in criminal justice systems, in deciding whether uh, criminals, right, or offenders have the propensity to re-offend, and judges using that to actually decide, right, how long the sentence of a particular offender should be. We should be very careful as to see whether the systems that are trained on certain data, whether they contain historically biased data, it contains unintended discrimination that we don't want to have, right? And beyond that, a broader concern is really the increasing reliance that we have on technology. For generations, humans have relied on our own personal stores of experience and knowledge, but nowadays, right, with automation bias, with our great reliance on technology, will this lead to a situation where we lose our human touch and we lose our training and experience and human instincts? I think we should guard against that. But I think once the world is able to come together with a conversation that guards against these issues, I do think that AI and data carry a lot of potential to transform our world. What do you think, Thomas?
Yeah, I agree. And, a lot of people think that, AI is out there, but actually AI is affecting us every day. When we go to the bank, we're applying for a loan. Actually, there's no human being that's deciding it. They're using algorithms and data points and to see what's matching with your particular things. When you apply for an insurance policy, they're using AI for that. Facebook, what do they want? They want, number one, your money, but they want your information so they can connect the algorithms and your behavior to match your behavior. And so dispute resolution is much the same way. And I share the same concern as Josh does about, is this data used without bias, without, the bias that will come because of a certain algorithm. I'll give you an example. I just fiddled around with an AI application, and it was this might be a good thing because you're both divorce lawyers. But Stanford did a study, and they had like 200 questions for people in relationships, and they out of those 200 questions, they found the top 6 questions that measured out a measure that had the highest propensity to factors that would cause relationships either to fail or not fail. And just 6 questions. They could be boiled down to 6 questions. They can reveal, it's like a 80-20 rule. They can reveal 80% of the propensity for a relationship to fail. So these are powerful tools that could be misused, and maybe there could be some injustice that might come because of these algorithmic biases that might come out from that. But other than that, I'm talking about the small things. But overall, I think it's a positive influence towards the resolving disputes, especially large number of disputes, especially in e-commerce and such, where you have a lot of data, a lot of don't have a lot of time to go through all that data.
Thank you so much. And back to Josh and your engagement in Alita. So, turning back to that, we understand that Alita recently launched a very interesting and exciting regional initiative, the Alita Solia Awards. Would you tell us some more about it?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll keep it short and punchy, right? So Solia, as I mentioned earlier, is the state of legal innovation in the Asia Pacific. There's nothing magical about that term. It is we just short formed it to be Solia. But Alita Solia Awards is special because it is what we understand to be the first set of legal innovation awards in the Asia Pacific, right? And the way that we want to do this is not to do it in glitzy kind of like gala dinners and pay to play models, but rather we want to focus on what is really beneficial for the long-term sustainability of the industry. We want to focus on inclusivity. We want to focus on diversity. And so we've already launched these awards. We are very glad to have Linklaters, Clifford Chance, Clock, Prophet, the RU, and the Singapore Academy of Law on board, partnering us to drive these awards. We have a tremendous amount of interest based on the nominations that have come in. And starting from next week onwards, actually, we are going to the voting phase. So it's exciting because we will be asking everyone here in this podcast that's listening in to go and check out the website, solia.alita.legal, and vote for your favorite candidates in the 6 different categories that we have. And the finals will be held at Tech Law Fest on 24th September. So do look out for that.
Say the date again, September 21st?
24th.
I'm sorry, September 24th, 2021.
That's right.
And the website, people will be able
It-
to find it just
yeah.
through Google, or should they just go to it directly?
Yeah, so they can go to techlawfest.com. That's TECHLAWFEST, short for festival.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So as we start drawing down, guys, let's bring it all home. Thomas, coming back to you to continue back on ODR and AI technology.
Mhm.
Give us a little bit more about what you were saying earlier in some recent developments, but
Mhm.
also what are some of the criteria that a mediator or someone involved in resolving a dispute should look for in determining what kind of technology is more effective and determining an equitable outcome in negotiations? Because to a lot of people, guys, this whole AI and the law thing can sound pretty scary. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe if it's Facebook trying to connect us to sneakers, that's one thing. We may not care about it. But as soon as we start talking about the legal industry and having artificial intelligence help us, come to what negotiated settlements that are quote unquote fair, I think folks are always going to be having a little bit of trepidation. So I just wanted you guys to give a little bit more, I guess, comfort to folks and what they should think about the future. But Thomas, take it away, please.
Yeah. I like Josh. I'm in Southeast Asia. I'm in Vietnam, and Josh is in Singapore, focused with Alita and such, where I'm also a member. I'm a Canadian, so I also follow what's going on in Canada. I'm quite proud to say that Canada has advanced in a lot of areas with regards to AI and dispute resolution. For example, Queen's University in Toronto has a collaboration with some other universities. Maybe Josh, you can invite, they can introduce Berkeley to their program, but they have a tool, AI tool called Open Court. And this Open Court, they've used algorithms, I don't know, several thousand different algorithms focusing on labor disputes. So, what are your chances of, before you even go to court, of you pursuing employment law that's specific to the jurisdiction in Canada. So it's quite interesting. And they actually just came out with very interesting, you could probably go onto the website, where you could mediate adverse reactions to the COVID vaccine. So they have all the different algorithms, so you could input what was your reaction to the Moderna, what was your reaction to AstraZeneca. They'll put all that in together, and if there's maybe some class action lawsuit or something, they would have the algorithms to move forward and support you on that. So it's a mediation for vaccines, which would apply for a lot of people that might have some adverse reactions, and could have, everybody's getting vaccinated now. So, and there are reports, I'm waiting for my vaccine. There are some reports of some adverse reactions, and these will be followed through a mediation portal. There's all kinds of things. Also, British Columbia. I'm from Ontario, and I was a court-appointed mediator. But in British Columbia, they've developed the ODR and AI to a system that I think is probably the best in the world. They have a tribunal, and they have ODR systems incorporated. They have a mechanism that allows for a very good, credible process. They have case management. They have advisory tools to advise you, communication tools, decision support tools, and even drafting software. So you don't even need a lawyer to submit documents. So they could help you with drafting documents. So I could talk forever on it, but those are the key areas that I see in Canada as far as what kind of technology is out there that could help us in resolving disputes.
Please, Josh, how about you?
Well, I think that ODR and AI, is really advanced by leaps and bounds. I wouldn't say that I'm a real expert in ODR or something that I dive deep into, but I think that at least with regard to COVID-19, it's really changed the way that lawyers think about ODR, right? In the past, people used to think that, hey, ODR, number one, it's probably something that is it might replace some of the functions that we have as lawyers, or number two, it is just a good to have. It's something that we can look at it maybe 5-10 years down the road. So there wasn't much of a focus on it, but with COVID-19, right, within a few weeks, within a few months, things had to change, and it shows actually the fundamental propensity for the legal industry to change with their mindsets, as well as with their actions when the need does call for it. And I think it's great because that there are initiatives, for example, by Richard Susskind, right, which track all the online dispute resolution mechanisms that have been put out all over the world. And you look at it, if you look at his website, I can't remember the website at this point in time, but I'll share the link later.
Mhm.
When the project just started out, there were just a few references to ODR mechanisms, and then now you can just keep scrolling, and the list never ends, right? And so I think it's really interesting about how the world has embraced ODR. The question is, where do we go from here, right? With the data that we have, with the systems that we have all set up, can we use this to put on more advanced technologies on top of the baseline technologies that we already have to enhance access to justice, especially those who are greatly affected by the COVID-19, whether directly by the virus or because of their livelihoods, right? I think those are things that the legal industry, given the important role that we play in society, has a certain responsibility to start looking towards.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And before we close, let me just add this. Whenever I think about the whole conversation about AI, recently I was some some ex- explosions happened in Afghanistan, as you guys know, and some American soldiers lost their lives in addition to many Afghans. And I came across a tweet that was talking, just unrelated, about soldiers, U.S. soldiers disobeying orders that were illegal, unethical, or immoral. I remember thinking about that. Even us humans, we would give grace and expect that a soldier who is given a command is not going to go obey an order that is illegal, immoral, or unethical. I'm thinking whenever we talk about this discussion about artificial intelligence and machine learning and bringing in basically, uh, you know, computers to help make decisions, like that is where we should constantly as humans be looking at what the machines that we're building can do. Okay,
Mhm.
because we don't want to be taken for a ride here to places that as humans we've never really tapped into because we've never had this technology exist before in the past. And
Mhm.
so I love technology, I love the advancements, and I all for artificial intelligence helping us make better decisions, more informed decisions, and in accounting for human biases that have existed for centuries, right, for millennia, and whenever we try to resolve disputes. But my concern is we got to make sure that we have safeguards in place so that we don't end up having a machine, I guess, that's going to then promote illegality, you know, unethical outcomes,
Mhm.
immoral outcomes. That's my concern. And I
Mhm.
wonder if you guys share the same kind of views, and if so, what could be done in your minds to help make sure that we don't
Mhm.
have, I guess, you know, uh, uh, Arnold Schwarzenegger walking in as a T2 robot, killing us all. Like that. That's
Yeah.
always what leads me up. And I go ahead,
If,
please.
if I could jump in, Josh, for 1 second, because I like that question because AI now is we don't want AI to become more human. Okay, we want AI to have the morality that we strive for. Because if we're going to make AI to be more human, then we're doomed. So AI technology is actually we're using the weaknesses of human biases, the weaknesses, and improving on them so they're not incorporated into the justice system. Because every there's a great movie. It was a Japanese movie from the 1950s, one of my favorite movies, probably the best movie of all time, Rossaman, I believe it was called, where I recommend it for all mediators because there are 5 characters. They all saw a crime, but they all saw it differently because of human biases. And I think AI is ideal for eliminating those biases in the justice system. And Josh and I had a great conversation about how now AI is now surpassing human ability in games, and maybe you want to touch a little bit about that. Where now they're doing better than what we can do and faster and such. Josh, you want to just touch on that a little bit about maybe what was the Go game that you were talking about, the game theory and things like that, and how that could be a benefit to us.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And I think I want to just use this chance, maybe as the last contribution, to pull some of these strings together, right?
Mhm.
Mac,
Yeah.
I think you are absolutely right. I can totally understand that sort of tension between, yes, I know AI is going to be good for society, but I don't want it to affect my job. I don't want it to adversely affect my livelihood or my chances of succeeding. And that's completely valid. And I think, um, that's why the conversations have to start now, right? In terms of how can we make AI not unethical? How can we make sure that it benefits humans, that it is human centric at its core? And these conversations are going on around the world, not just in relation to ODR or even legal innovation or law, in all industries, right? We've seen the European Union push out their draft AI legislation. It's called the AI Act, Artificial Intelligence Act, and they're looking at high risk systems. They want high risk systems to go through conformity assessments, right? And that's where we need to dive into the technology. So it's no longer about lawyers or ethicists sitting around the table and saying, hey, what should the AI do in this case? We need to start diving into the technology and see how can we test those systems, make sure that they are human centric, make sure that they are safe, they're transparent, they're fair, and so on. And going to Thomas's point, I think this is a great segue, right? The Go game that he was mentioning about, basically it was this whole um, this whole incident, right, where basically this AI system that was produced by DeepMind, it was called AlphaGo, and then later on, a later evolution was called AlphaGo Zero. It basically beat the best player in Go in the world that's been recognized like the world over for many years, right? The AI system beat that Go player, I think, in a 3-2 matchup, right? And it just got better from there. And people thought that there was a watershed moment because unlike chess, where you can actually program the moves, there are more number of moves in Go than the number of atoms in the entire universe. So the understanding was that you cannot just do it with brute force. You need to have some intuition with that. And they thought that it was a test of, in a sense, artificial general intelligence. But I still think that that is still a very narrow, right, kind of skill set that the AI system has. AlphaGo Zero may be able to defeat all of us in Go here in this room or anyone that's listening, but it can't throw a ball like your son or daughter can. It cannot go to the playground and beat us at, climbing monkey bars, right? And that's what we mean by artificial general intelligence, and that's the fear, I think, where we are going, that people have generally about AI. It's still artificial narrow intelligence, where they specialize in specific stuff. I think going forward, right, as something that is a little more optimistic, I think the most important combination is not AI systems alone or human systems alone, but like what happened in chess, where AI and human players combine together to start, creating new moves and start to compete against each other. I think that's where the real conversation is. That's where we should be looking. But then we need to be concerned about the digital divide. Who are the humans that have access to AI systems, and who are the humans that do not? And then that's a conversation, which is why I say we need to start those dialogues and discussions right now.
Yes, would be great to have you back to discuss that more often, because we definitely need to talk about the great divide that's occurring in our societies. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, guys, because I do believe that what we've achieved is to say a little warm words about artificial intelligence, which, as we already stated, to most of the people is rather scary, and also how they perceive their future. They do believe that artificial intelligence will be employed somewhere, but not in their field. And actually, what we can say already, artificial intelligence is going to be used everywhere, also in ODR. And ODR, again, to close this entire topic that we've been talking, is the future of the justice system. And since it is the future of the justice system, can also be employed to ensure that the access to justice is fairer, is plainer, is more understandable to everybody. So, what we can await are the changes to the better, and let us hope for that. And please stay tuned to hear more from instantmediations.com. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you,
See you
Josh.
next
Thank
time.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.